After receiving the Somali top guest, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held summit talks with his Somali counterpart, and the summit talks were followed by expanded talks which included delegations from both sides. After the talks, the President held a press conference with his Somali counterpart as they discussed a number of issues of mutual concern, and they spoke in lengthy talks about important regional files, topping the list the so-called Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia and the Egyptian stance to reach a just and a fair solution to filling and activating the building for the best interest of the three countries' peoples, whether it's Egypt, Sudan or Ethiopia, but taking into consideration that the water rights of Egypt is a red light. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Somali President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud held joint press conference on Monday. Addressing the conference, President al-Sisi said the visit reflects deep relations between Egypt and Somalia. The head of state also congratulated his Somali counterpart on holding presidency in a step towards stability in the country. President al-Sisi asserted that Egypt supports Somalia and was one of the first countries that supported its independence. Sisi pointed that both agreed on working together to reach stability of the African Horn. He also underscored that both sides agreed on the danger of unilateral measures taken regarding the so-called Ethiopian Dam and also agreed on combating terrorism in all its forms. He also stressed that both sides urged a binding agreement on filling and operating the so-called Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The head of state also said that the two sides agreed on boosting relations in the fields of trade and education. For his part, and addressing the press conference, the Somali president said Egypt and Somalia are friendly countries for decades. Sheikh Mahmoud said his country appreciates Egypt's role in supporting Somalia's stability and independence. Earlier, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received his Somali counterpart at Al-Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace, where an official reception ceremony was held for the Somali leader upon his arrival, as both leaders also witnessed the honor guard's reception and the national anthems of both countries were played. And to shed more light on the important visit of the Somali president to Egypt and the summit talks which took place between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his Somali counterpart, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone the chairperson of Board of Directors of Studies Institute, Dr. Shaima Sharkawy. A very good afternoon, Dr. Shaima.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Shaima, first, how do you see the developments or the leap in the relations between Egypt and Somalia in the past few years, which was symbolized not only in the visits or the exchange visits between the two sides, but also the volume of trade and deals signed in many fields?
Yes, the importance of the visit of President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud, President of the Federal Republic of Somalia, to the Arab Republic of Egypt, to advance the course of relations between the two countries entails, in light of the new vision pursued by the President of Somalia Republic to strengthen the bonds of cooperation and coordination with Egypt.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes. And to continue with the Egyptian efforts exerted to support all the African states, our African allies, the president was keen in many occasions to speak about security and stability as main pillars even of development. How do you see this issue as topping the agenda of talks between the two presidents?
The meeting discussed ways to enhance bilateral relations between the two countries' economic and diplomatic cooperation and combating terrorism, as well as reviving the Egyptian role in Somalia's education, with the focus of strengthening and deepening political relations and cooperation in security fields, and increasing Egypt's support to Somalia in all fields, especially education, scholarships, training Somali cadres, and increasing trade exchange and economic cooperation.
Yes, and what about the outcomes of the Joint African Free Trade Agreement? As when it comes to the economic situation worldwide, the whole world is suffering from severe inflation, from the negative repercussions, whether of COVID-19 or the Russian-Ukrainian struggle. How do you see this as a kind of support to our African allies?
Somalia and the Egyptian relations are witnessed a great development during the last stage through mutual visits at the ministerial level and the level of senior officials. The last of which was the visit of Egyptian Prime Minister to Somalia during the opening ceremony of the Somali president. The Somali to Egypt and his meeting with President Sisi. The Somali-Egyptian relations is brotherly, historical, and well established.
Well, Dr. Shaima Sharkawy, the chairperson of Board of Directors of Studies Institute, thank you very much for your input and have a very good afternoon. Right after the short break, we are going to turn back with more, so stay tuned.
Egypt opens up to the world.